Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Jacy Ong. Hi Jacy, welcome back.
Hi Vasco, thanks for having me here again.
Absolutely. So, Jacy, on Tuesdays we talk about teams, but as usually, we start with one book recommendation. So share with us what might have been the book that most influenced you in your career as a Scrum Master.
I would definitely pick the book Coaching Agile Teams by Lyssa Adkins. So this book was recommended to me by an Agile coach with whom I've been in close contact with. He was basically my mentor and my coach as well. And I was asking him, hey, can you recommend me a book where I can potentially upskill myself? And he recommended this book to me. And so far, it is still the book that I would recommend to other budding Scrum Masters and Agile coaches as well.
So when you think about that book, what are maybe one or two core insights, really important insights that you got for yourself as a Scrum Master?
I think the first one would be accepting the fact that even for ourselves as a Scrum Master or even an Agile coach, right, sometimes we have our own pitfalls as well. And it's important to be aware of that and to accept that as well. Of course, once you're aware and accepting of that, then the next step is to how can you become better so that you can give better value to the teams that you're working with. So that stood out quite vividly to me. The second part is about really believing in the teams that you're working with that they can deliver high quality work. So always set the expectations to them that, hey guys, I believe that we can do much better than this. So that encouraging tone of the book really, it really did it for me. Like, this is how I envision myself to be working with like the individuals and the teams that I have.
Absolutely. Well, one thing that you mentioned, perhaps I would like to come back to emphasize, is believing in the teams that you are working with, because that's one of the things that most affects our relationship with the teams. If we don't believe in them, it will transpire in every interaction and will affect their performance.
Yes. You have to really have faith and believe in them no matter what happens. Like, even when things don't go really well, you still have to believe in them. Like, hey, I know that you guys have the potential to do this. Let's come out of this situation better.
Absolutely. Great advice indeed as well. So, Jacy, because today is Tuesday, we also want to dive into some antipatterns, some behaviors that sometimes emerge in the teams that may lead to trouble. So tell us the story of a team and give us a little bit of the context, maybe how big they were, what kind of skills or roles they had, what might have triggered those behaviors, those patterns that ultimately led to problems. So walk us through that story.
Okay. So a couple of weeks ago, I had a team member come to me and they were providing a feedback to me about a project that was deployed recently, and they shared to me that, hey, actually we pushed to production when testing wasn't even done. So hearing that from my team member, that just made me realize that sometimes, even though the team really wants to deliver a good piece of functionality or a good piece of feature, right, to the customers, but sometimes due to constraints like strict timelines that has been committed without the team knowing, so that normally that I feel is a pattern where the team goes into a self-destructive mode.
And how does that look like? So I'm pretty sure that many of our listeners are familiar with the idea that sometimes the teams are given deadlines, and not just deadlines, but also backlogs and deadlines, and they are all fixed and so on and so forth, right? The old everything is fixed kind of anti-pattern. But what happens in the team when they are given that kind of fixed mandate?
The most common pattern of behavior that I see in the team is they would agree to that even though probably at the back of their mind, they are probably thinking, no, we cannot make it, right? Because I mean, we can, but the quality would be jeopardized or compromised. But somehow, when it comes to in reality, the team would just go with it. So I feel that teams that sometimes self-destruct, they find it really difficult to say no to, for example, stakeholders or even the product owner. So that is when they find themselves in the constant cycle of not being able to give their best work, but at the same time, because they find it difficult to say no, that they're in the cycle of delivering things of not of subpar quality in order to meet the deadlines.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to explore this a little bit further, though. So we've talked about what happens, right? So some problems emerge when we focus too much on saying yes and end up accepting impossible missions. One aspect of this, of course, is that if the team themselves think it's impossible and they still say, yes, we will do it, of course they are going to fail, right? This is one of those basic ideas. You set up yourself for failure if you think that you are going to fail, right? If you don't start with the belief that this is possible, it's already in the wrong direction. But I'm curious to see what kind of behaviors emerge? Maybe the dynamics between the teams, maybe the dynamics between teams and product owners that you have seen after they say yes. So they have been put, perhaps between what is the rock and a hard place, right? Here's the deadline, here's the scope, go deliver it, right? So that has happened. That's in the past, and they are in a situation where they don't really believe they can do it. What emerges? What happens in the team after that moment?
That's actually a good question. I think that the team just starts to work on their individual items more because of the time constraint, right? So there is lesser time spent on collaborating with each either other in the team. Rather the focus and shifted more towards like, hey, we've got this deadline. I need to finish my part so that testing can start, right? So it's become a very individual behavior instead of a team working together towards a common goal. So that is what I notice normally.
Yeah, so they try to achieve the goal by working separately instead of together.
Yes.
And of course, we know that from experience as Scrum Masters that when team members don't really help each other and they don't listen to each other's cries for help, for lack of a better term, then of course the team can't succeed. At the end of the day, Scrum teams are in what's called a collective sport. They can't succeed individually. They can only succeed as a team, right?
Yes, you're definitely right. Yep.
And when you think about this, I mean, you've been in these situations, I'm sure, not for the last time, knowing this industry as I do. Of course, so what do you have to say to our Scrum Master listeners out there as tips, ideas, thoughts, maybe facilitation techniques that you use to bring that conversation up, to have that conversation with the team and the stakeholders?
What I've done and what I normally would do is always anchor the team to a common goal that they set out to achieve together, right? So, for example, yes, each of the team members have their core specialty or skill set that is appreciated in the team, but when the time comes for it, sometimes the team has to help each other out. So normally with this, I would normally anchor onto perhaps the definition of done of the team. So for example, if by the end of the sprint, we've completed all the back end and the front end, but testing is not done. So as a team, we did not complete any stories at all for the sprint. So I normally try to make the team to look at the situation on a team level instead of individual level. So the story is not done until the definition of done that is agreed upon by everyone in the Scrum team is done basically. So that I've noticed it helps them to collaborate better together as a team because somehow it also affects the velocity at the end of the day when the product owner accepts the items or not during the sprint review, right? So that I noticed has been able to help. Another way is normally I would approach them individually. So this is when I take the coaching to the individual level, where I have catch up sessions with each of the team member to identify. Oh no, actually to first understand from them what are their goals and what is actually bothering them in how the team works, right? And from there, I identify coaching opportunities or moments for me to coach the team to work better as a team, basically.
Yeah, so raising awareness of the problems and perhaps the difficulties they are already struggling with, right?
Yes. So I realized giving past data or past examples of, hey, remember the previous sprint where we thought that we could do it, but we actually didn't. So giving them the historical data somehow is able to make them reflect as well, like, you're right, maybe we should do something different this time. So it's a lot of trial and error, actually, Vasco. And sometimes I don't succeed, and sometimes I succeed, but it's a continuous trial and error with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great story and a great set of tips. Thank you for sharing that, Jacy.
You're welcome.
Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.